You gave such a brilliant example of nonprofit collaboration, which I feel many of us are a little bummed at the lack of collaboration we see within the nonprofit world right now. But you gave a brilliant example of in the arts community in New York City.
Yeah, I shared with you a story about how in the early stages of COVID, all of the theaters here across the arts sector in New York City had to shut down because of COVID. And then in the summer of 2021, when the theaters were able to, and dance companies particularly came together. There were 5 or 6 dance companies, very well reputed, world reputations as different dance organizations, came together and presented a week-long program highlighting, showcasing their work together on the same stage with the same, and these are very different kinds of companies. I was very fortunate to work for New York City Ballet years ago, but there are 4 or 5 Ballet Hispanico, Alvin Ailey Company, American Ballet Theatre, who all came together and kind of put together this program, and they've continued that initiative. And it's one of those ways where each company, led from their leaders down, their artistic directors, their executive directors, to say, how are you doing it inside the company that you're working with?
A great example of those are groups that we often look at and go, oh, well, they're all competing for the same donors, same
Absolutely.
money.
Mm.
But I love when Dan Plata's, the movie Uncharitable came out, and part of the idea being that the pie can be grown, right? Like, what
Mhm.
if instead, by all of those groups coming together, there's a new love for ballet and for dance
Mhm.
and theater
Mhm.
and all of those things brought forward because that combined social proof and star power and all of that
Right.
instead
Mhm.
inspires more people, right?
Yeah. It is that additional recognition that we're very nuanced individuals, all of
Yeah.
us. We all have different stages of our lives where we do things, and deep down things that are really important to us that we may not really even know how to express, but it's by how we show up in some of these, nonprofits that we support. Or I was sharing, we had an event for the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, and our students at Fordham who are in a BFA program, they do a full degree both as students at the dance company and at Fordham at the same time. And at their performance, I was sitting next to someone who who was on the board at another university, and she was sharing all that she'd never been to see our company before, but she has deep
Amazing.
knowledge of education. So, you get this, really multi-layered perspective on people, which I think is
Yeah.
fascinating as somebody who's very interested in, human spirit, human empathy, that sort of thing.
I think we need different layers of community, right?
Mhm.
Like, we're too multifaceted to go, oh, this is the only community that can
Mhm.
possibly serve all of my needs. There
Mhm.
can be crossover. Different things will feed your soul at different
Mhm.
times.
Mhm.
And that is what community is, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's an ebb and a flow to it that we like to, and in fundraising, I see it frequently. We like to go, this is our donor and they'll forever be our donor and they're now ours. But that's not how it works, right? Like,
Mhm.
our passions are not limited to one thing only.
Right.